0. Fast, proactive, personal. That's DKP & Co Chartered Accountants.
Penalty conceding kind of situation, but Atkinson did well. Oh my goodness! Have you seen a more freakish goal in A-League history? Riley McGreen with a scorpion kick into the top corner. It's one of the most amazing things we've ever seen. Come on, Ernie, on your feet.
You're listening to FNR, Football Nation Radio.
She lays it off Teresa Polias. It's an absolute peach. Ayres driving. What a hit from Melina Ayres. Wow. And Sam Kerr has a hat-trick.
Welcome back to Radio Dub. It's been a minute. It's been a month. It might have been 2 months. It's been a long time. It's been a long time, but we're back with a cracking show, I think. 2 amazing guests, one in the waiting room at the moment. I'm Pekua Frimpong. You've seen my face before, but we've got a new face, a new co-host. Josh Parrish has left, and I said, we need us like another replacement, but an Avenger level replacement. Lockie Flanagan.
Avenger level?
Avenger level, that's what I'm saying.
I can only assume you mean one of like the less like notable Avengers, like War
Not
Machine
Hawkeye.
or something.
You're coming in strong.
Wow,
Joined by,
okay.
you've heard the voice before. If you've listened to FNR, it's the sweet tones of Lockie Flanagan. Lockie, what does it feel like to be on Radio Dub?
It's nice. I've been looking on at Josh Parrish for many months of the existence of this program with great envy. You always get to talk to such good people in this program and talk about such good things. I'm excited to be a part of it. Shall we get to one of those good people? We'll get to one of them very, very shortly.
We should.
But who have we got on? We've got
Mark Torcaso. If I pronounce it correctly, if I've pronounced it incorrectly, he'll let me know.
Who else though? It's because Mark Torcaso is a headline on his own. That's all you need for one show. But we have 2 guests joining us.
We do have 2 guests, and you know what? Last night, me and you both were at the Nike FC Cup between Heidelberg and South Melbourne, and Francesca Iermano. These names, I'm going to get them correct. She's on at 5:30 with us. Switched it around a little bit, but we'll get to Mark, the man who wears many hats, coaches from new A-League Women's head coach. Lockie, is he in? Are we able?
He is with us. Mark Torcaso, obviously a man of many hats, as Pekua said, but most importantly of which the inaugural A-League Women's head coach for Western United. Mark, first of all, congratulations.
Thank you, guys. Can you hear me all right?
Yeah, coming through loud and clear. First of all, obviously, we always, I think, suspected that this news might be coming to fruition. I think secretly within the walls of Football Nation Radio, we also hoped that it would be the case.
Would it be the worst kept secret, Lockie?
Quite possibly. But how pleased are you, Mark, to finally get this news that you are the head coach of Western United confirmed? Pretty excited, to be quite honest. It's going to be a good little journey. Obviously, the Western United journey is only fresh, so this is just a part of it, and I can't wait. It's going to be so exciting.
Mark, I want to go back to you're coaching Calder, having exciting, being great club and great history. When did you first hear about potentially you guys go Western United? You guys going into the Western United fold and heading into the A-League Women's?
It was probably around 2018 where we had 2018-19, we had a very first initial discussion that the club wanted to go towards being part of a national competition. And then it was around, obviously, when Western was established after that we sort of approached them and said that how do we be involved in potentially being part of a national competition, because we always had this ambition that Calder wanted to be part of the A-League someday. But then once Western was formed, it was a matter of just connecting with the Western Melbourne group and then talking to them about what our views were and future was. And then it just literally all joined. The dots just joined. Then it was just a matter of how do we make this happen? And then we just put some ideas together and then here we are today. It's just it happens it feels like it's happened really quickly, but it's going to be so exciting. We can't wait.
Mark, we've obviously spoken a few times when you've been with us on the green room in your sort of then role as academy director of Western United, and it's something we touched on a lot, but I want to bring it up for a sort of fresh set of ears, the Radio Dub listeners as well. I mean, thinking back to what you've just said there about sort of Calder's ambitions to be an A-League women's team at some point, Western United also sharing that ambition, both of you guys being based in the West, and Calder as well having this sort of unique selling point, I guess, coming into the A-League women's as a team with a full top to bottom setup, an academy as well. It really does feel like this has been, not just a partnership kind of made in heaven in many ways, but also the fact that it is such a landmark announcement. It's all sort of happening at the perfect time too.
Yeah, I think the biggest part of this that we should be excited about is it's another pathway for young girls and females to have an opportunity to play at the highest level. And if it's not A-League level on the highest level, there's an opportunity to play at NPL level with Calder. And if it's not at that level, then you got your community bases around that. But there's a genuine pathway from, your mini roos, your 7s and 8s right through to NPL at Calder, and then now right into your pathway in the W League, and that's, or the A-League women's. That's that's been the intention. That's sort of been something that has been sitting with me for all the years that I've coached, even prior to being at Calder, is that at some point there needs to be this pathway where we're feeding into an A-League women's side, because one pathway, one sort of message all the way through could be pretty exciting. And I think that message is important, is having one sort of clear message right through top to bottom. So that's I think for me, the opportunity here for girls to have that extra pathway as well.
And that's kind of a testament to the input that Western United have had in all of this, and their commitment to women's football as well. Because already in your sort of inaugural season, before a ball has even been kicked in competitive football, you guys, in terms of that sort of youth level, top to bottom setup, are already the benchmark in many respects with what you've got to offer there.
I think like you said, it was a match made in heaven, because one really wanted to be part of a national competition, and the A-League women's in Western United really wanted to have that connection. And then it was obviously lucky enough, Calder was a very successful women's side since its inception in 2016, and with Western obviously being located in the Western area, it was just a perfect connection. And then it was like a first date, and we hit it off straight away.
And now, obviously, maybe the first date, I don't know, maybe it's having it a first date, but you tell them what you see for the future. Now, for you, Mark, what was the kind of things you wanted Western to know about Calder that you wanted to keep as an identity and, for the future, and say, this is the club, but we want to build with you, but we also want to keep these things that we've, grown and allowed us to become who we are?
It was interesting because I don't know if it was by luck or if it was by coincidence or what it was, but the general sort of culture that we built at Calder and the general philosophies and visions actually really lined up with exactly the way the Western sort of group put their stuff together. And it was just really weird. And like sometimes you'd walk into conversations and meetings, or you'd watch a training session with the A-League men's side, and you look at things, you go like, oh my God, this is very similar. I don't think there was anything that was different. That was the really good thing, that we didn't have to change too much with what was Calder doing, and didn't have to change too much with what Western was doing. It's literally like we're both doing very much the same things. Obviously, the Calder identity is very important because, that's a successful brand now in Victoria, and I don't think that connection will ever be lost. And obviously the Calder name won't ever be lost, but I think now the genuine pathway for players is what needs to be looked at. Is you can play at Calder in the NPL, but hey, there's an opportunity to step into an A-League women's side here as well, with Western being the partner. So I guess it just married up again because of the two entities had very much the same visions and philosophies. So, and the cultures was very much the same.
Well, speaking of players potentially being involved at Calder and making the transition across to Western United, we've heard your reaction about the official announcement, not just about Western United being part of the A-League Women's, but also you being the head coach. What was the reaction of the playing group, many of whom you'd imagine will maybe get a chance to feature as part of that senior side when it was confirmed?
Yeah, without letting too much out of the bag, I think all the players were very excited because not that they've come to Calder for the fact that there was a connection with an A-League women's side, but I think, like going back before, just knowing that there's an opportunity for them who might have missed out on previous years in other A-League spaces to have an opportunity. And I think that was the main thing for, I guess, my message to the players. I wanted to be clear that obviously, Calder's got a job to still do here and finish this season off and be successful and win everything that we can. But some of the players will have that opportunity. And I've been very clear with that. It doesn't, obviously, just because you're at Calder doesn't necessarily mean you're going to have that opportunity. But obviously, you're in that window underneath my eyes, which is important. But I think just that excitement there was there as well for them. Like they were much as excited for me as I guess I was and as the club was, because they're along this journey with myself as well. So, if I could take all of them, I would. But the reality is everyone's in different stages of their development, and there might be a group this year and there might be another group next year. But without telling you too much of who's going to have that opportunity, there'll be a few. There'll be a few, definitely.
Absolutely, and we know as well, if previous evidence is anything to go by from Western United, they are a very ambitious club, and we saw them, sort of hit the ground running with big signings for their A-League men's side when they first came in. Are there plans afoot to bring in some, to complement that existing Calder base with some headline signings potentially?
Definitely in that. Obviously, if you follow the women's game a fair bit, there's definitely a couple of names that have been thrown around. Some overly ambitious, but as you would know, Chris, the way Chris is, he likes to be very ambitious. But that's good. That's a good thing. But yeah, there'll be players that will be some established, some important figures that are going to set our team up. But I wouldn't expect Amada or anyone like that at the moment, but who knows? We can try for anything. We can have a look at that.
Look, I think I speak on behalf of myself and Piku when we say we don't have any problem with an aim for the stars and
Absolutely
hit the moon
not.
kind of transfer policy. That's perfectly fine.
I think that is the best transfer policy. Now, Mark, obviously heading into the A-League Women's, it is a step up. Like even if you keep, there's a majority of your players, and if you get additional things, it is going to be a step up. How do you foresee those challenges, and how do you see yourself and your coaching staff kind of challenge, tackling those challenges?
I think this year, not that it was confirmed that I was going to be the coach or not, prior to this season, I sort of started preparing myself in a different way as a coach in regards to the way I was, sort of training in the Calder setup and utilising staff more and all that type of stuff. So it was almost like I was going to start preparing myself regardless, even if I did get the job or not, because I just thought it was a good opportunity for me to develop myself a bit more as a coach. So there's no doubt that the stepping stone into that level is going to be a huge step, obviously. I've been lucky enough to work in that space as a goalkeeper coach with Victory back in 2014 to 16. So I sort of know that setup and that environment and how it needs to look. But from myself, from my perspective, I had to adjust my coaching and change certain things because it is a big step, the demands of more training. You got to challenge the players obviously a lot more, and obviously you're going to be challenged a lot more. So definitely had to change that. But obviously it's also it's fresh and new too. So we roll with the punches, I guess. And each day that each challenge that you're confronted with, you just adjust to it as best you can, but be as prepared as you possibly can as well.
And I can't imagine for yourself or for players as well that it's easy necessarily to set expectations for an inaugural season in a professional competition. I mean, how many people over the years have actually had to deal with that sort of a conundrum? But do you feel like obviously the fact that there will be a good core without, again, like you said, without wanting to give too much away, a
Lucky,
good core of this Calder side. I'm not. I'm going somewhere, I promise. The fact that there will be a sort of, a united group who have played together, know each other inside and out, as opposed to a situation you might find with other startup clubs where you've got to cobble together a full squad learning to play together and understand one another for the first time. Do you think that gives you a sort of edge going into an inaugural season, the fact that there will be players who really, really know each other both on and off the pitch?
I think that is a really important thing, to be quite honest, because Well, the one message that was clear when all these discussions were had was, same message, same coach, similar players, understanding the same way that we sort of wanted to play. Obviously, going into a very first training session in a different environment, in different colours, I guess, to some extent, even though we wear a green at training, but at Calder, but going into that sort of different environment, I guess it's always going to change the perception that you're in that sort of A-League sort of, I guess, setup now. So you automatically shift that. I think, though, the important thing for me is having the right relationships with players is going to be important in this situation. Like knowing the players, knowing me, and me knowing some of these players, knowing what I can get out of them, what they can get out of me, is probably going to be the real critical thing in this. And then obviously with new players that come in, is adjusting to that. But you're not having to do that with 23 players potentially. You might only have to do that with sort of 10 or 15 because the other 10 already know who you are. So I guess that's a very important thing for me, is the players knowing myself and me knowing them to some extent, or the majority of them anyway. And that will hold them in good stead, I guess, going into that season. So I don't know if it's an advantage, but I would definitely say it will help that we both know each other, I guess, initially.
Now, it's great to look into the future, but the present is occurring. I don't know if it's happening at the same time. I don't know what the laws of time travel are. But, Mark, Calder right now, top of the NPLW table, got a game next week for the Nike FC Cup. How are you feeling right now? How are you thinking about the season so far?
I've been blown away, to be quite honest, because we went into this season with a little bit of because we went in with obviously 7 or 8 fresh new young players from our under-19, so I didn't really have massive expectations. Obviously we wanted to be a top 4 side, but previous years we've had lots of experienced players, lots of W League players, where this year we're going in with some really young, fresh players, and my expectations were high, but they weren't, what they have in previous years. It's been let's get as far as we can, and the way these girls have just adjusted and gelled to each other has been amazing. And I think it would probably be up until, obviously this weekend, the best start to a season that we've ever had. We've conceded only 4 goals, I think, in 15 games or whatever it is, or 14 games, and scored a lot and just playing extremely well. And the girls have just been amazing, and listening to everything and learning. And the most important thing for me is learning, because some of them will have that next step and that opportunity to go to the next level. So that's been the most important thing for me, is they've learnt a lot, but we've managed to get points along the way, which is great. And obviously we've got a Nike FC Cup game on Tuesday too. So I've just been looking at all these games as experiences for these players. So that's been so important for this group at the moment.
I think you're being a little bit modest, Mark. It's a little bit modest, 4 goals conceded. I feel like the book needs to come out from this coaching stuff, because
we've got a name for it in commentary land. It's just the Calder canter, because they just get out in front and they just go steadily along. They just keep going the way they're going.
It's way too modest. I think we need to brag a little bit more. Come on, Mark.
No, and listen. The girls they've been rippers. I can't fault them. Their commitment has been huge, and I guess we don't have an out-and-out goal scorer. I can't even think of who is leading our goal scoring, because I think 10 players have scored 6 goals each. It's just the way it's just worked, or 5 goals each, whatever it is. It's just amazing. So, through all cup competitions, it's been pretty good. But I don't like to talk like that though.
It's funny, Mark. I'm actually thinking back to what you were saying when Josh and I spoke to you on the green room right after the opening round of the season, where you were sort of saying that you were sort of managing your expectations a little bit because of how many young players were coming into the side. But lo and behold, the under-19s have come up and made the leap. They've understood the sort of Calder identity and way of playing quite easily. I feel like that kind of, to sort of bring this full circle, that kind of speaks to what you were saying before about the strength of being able to, take an identity, a way of playing, a style, and implement it from the top down. Because those players have come in and have not looked out of place at all, and it's allowed you to have, the incredible season you've had so far.
And that's what I was saying. Even before with going into the A-League, is if you've got a nucleus and then you've got to bring in a few outside of that, as long as you get your change room right, you get your culture right, like more often than not, it all falls into place. Not saying that we're going to have 4 goals conceded after 14 rounds in the W League and the A League Women's, but we'll definitely have a go at it. But I think the team setting and that culture is the important thing. It doesn't matter if you're a first-year player in the seniors or you've been there for how many years, or you're an experienced player like an Alex Sinclair. It's as long as you bring it all together and you make it work and you make everyone, I guess, feel very important and part of the group. I guess it just flows, and like we don't look at results each week and go, all right, yeah, this weekend we've got to do this, or this weekend we've got to do that. We put high expectations on the players to perform, and it just flows. It's just an incredible setting, to be quite honest.
Well, Mark, thank you for joining us. You know, I feel like we've learnt something new, and maybe, Lockie, we're going to have a fantastic rest of Radio Dub as Calder are having at the moment. Mark, thank you for joining us, and good luck for the rest of the season, and good luck next season as well. And hopefully we'll have you back on the show. And we'll take a break.
No problems.
We'll take a quick break, and we'll be back shortly with some more interesting chats and even more guests.
Since 1998, Lanco Group has been providing superior civil engineering solutions and advice to developers, local government and service authorities across Australia. Lanco Group is known for delivering sustainable, efficient solutions. By working closely with clients, Lanco Group is able to meet the complex infrastructure requirements for residential, commercial and industrial developments on time, on budget. Find out more at lancogroup.com.au. Lanco Group, your business partner for engineering solutions.
Ronaldinho gathers speed, pass to Ramos. Elguera comes to meet him. He goes past Elguera. Ronaldinho at his very best. Unstoppable.
You're listening to FNR, Football Nation Radio.
Are you looking to change your destiny in life? Be your own boss? Start your own business? If you are, you need people who understand your needs and are committed to helping you make it happen. At DKP & Co Chartered Accountants, we are more than just accountants. We are business advisors, taxation consultants, and strategists that specialise in setting up businesses. We understand the client and give them the very best customised advice and strategies to achieve their goals. Visit our website, dkpco.com.au, or give us a call today on 03 9023 9370. Fast, proactive, personal. That's DKP & Co Chartered Accountants.
Pickett, she lays it off. Teresa Polias. It's an absolute peach. Is driving. What a hit from Melina Reyes. Wow.
And Sam Kerr has a hat-trick.
We're back from our first break. We just spoke to Mark Torcaso, the newly announced Western United A-League Women's head coach and the coach of Calder United. And look, he had a great time. What a nice man.
He is a very, very, very kind man. He once, when we had him on Western United's club show, The Green Room, which hopefully he'll be on in upcoming seasons.
Yes.
He joined us. He ducked out of a family dinner that he was in to come and chat to us, which I think is he did say that he wanted to get out of the dinner, but still.
He understood the assignment and his side are understanding the assignment. But you know what? Fantastic with Calder, and they had a great weekend as well. They winning 1-0 against Alamein on the weekend, and Lockie, weird game for Calder because you never really think of Calder only scoring one goal, but Alamein are a really difficult side, and they've shown that they're a tough side to beat with a lot of key players. What were your thoughts a little bit on the game?
Well, I mean, we spoke a little bit to Mark about it earlier. It was a pretty tight affair. I mean, Alamein are a side who we've seen on quite a few occasions against the sort of leading lights of the NPLW this season, that they can put up a seriously stern test. I mean, they're absolutely, they're probably best of the rest for me. I think that's not a controversial thing to say by any stretch of the imagination. And it was a really, really tightly fought contest for a good 70, 74 minutes. And then, Yeah, on the break, Alex Sinclair was streaming down the left-hand side, and it was Maya Hayson who just gave her a little shove in the back and got her marching orders. So maybe she did her sort of did Mark Torcaso a little bit of a favour. Of course, Maya was part of the Western United development squad, so maybe she's someone that we see involved in that capacity in the future. But maybe that connection just doing
maybe you're an oracle.
Mark
Maybe you're just like
a little bit of a favour. I don't know.
You're looking into the future and you're just trying to maybe painting a picture for us. I don't know.
Anyway, after Calder got that sort of advantage, having the extra player on the field, they were eventually they started to get a few more chances on goal, and in transition it was just a really lovely move, to be honest.
Yeah,
Alana Cern playing this beautiful sweeping ball across to the left-hand side of the pitch, I believe, for Stacey Papadopoulos. She got the cross in. Harriet Withers missed it on the edge of the sort of goalkeeper's technical area, but luckily, as she sort of had a fresh air, who else but Alex Sinclair at the back post to smash it back across the face of goal and give Calder another win and another clean sheet. They conceded for the first time in 7 weeks the week before against Bayside, and they were like, I didn't enjoy that conceding thing too much. Let's not do that again. So back to the clean sheets.
But it's something we've come to notice from Calder. They have beautiful passages of play through that midfield, and they just are such a tough team to break down. It's obviously indicative with that those only conceding 4 goals all year, and I think they're kind of just maybe this game typically they probably could have put a few more in the back of the net, but I think they're just going through the motions at times and just getting themselves to that finish line and getting ready for that finals.
Well, I mean, it's like I said to Mark before, it's the Calder canter. Yeah. This is just what they do. They get into a groove. Well-oiled machine. They get into a rhythm and they just bang out the results. That's something that they're continuing to do. Well, a team who has been banging out results this season, but not particularly good ones, not the right kind of results, are Bayside United. But that changed this weekend. I really feel like we need like some really big cinematic Hans Zimmer, just like some triumphant music, because I'm very happy for Bayside, because Bayside sometimes they have glimpses of, of showing through. There is some quality there, but they've really struggled to score goals like even from last season, and finally they scored a goal. They scored 2, in fact, Lockie. And the FE emerging side, they couldn't break the door, which a lot of teams this year have been able to break down Bayside and comfortably beat them. But I'm really impressed, and I'm happy for them, and I'm proud of that side. Yeah, I mean, it's a costly result for FE emerging, really, because they've got a game in hand. They are 2 points adrift of Alamein in 5th spot, and that game in hand is against Bulleen, so it's by no stretch of the imagination a sure thing. Even if they have had competitive results against the Lions this year, they could have sort of made that top 4 spot a guarantee ahead of Alamein, but to lose the Bayside, a really, really disappointing result for them. Obviously, no Caitlin Carrick in this game, who's been a star for them, which is inevitably going to make a massive, massive difference. But I don't know. I think sometimes these, younger sides can have a tendency to be a little bit rangy. There were some who were coming off short breaks, having been involved with young Matildas, that sort of thing. I mean, Silver Bell Morris was coming off a short turnaround, as was Isabella Ricardo as well. So there were a few players who had those sort of commitments, and maybe that sort of quick turnaround just showed for some of the key players. And it didn't hurt as well that what the opening goal in this game for Bayside was just complete freak of nature of a goal from Coco Parker. It just like, you see it and you always have to blink, because you're like, how did that happen? And it reminded me of a goal we saw last night, which we'll talk about that a little bit later. But that goal, top bins, do you reckon it was could do that twice in a row, or was it a bit of a... I don't know. I feel like that's one of the ones you don't necessarily repeat. But if you haven't seen it, go over to NPL.tv and watch Coco Parker's opening goal for Bayside United, getting them their first win of the season, their first points since the start of April. So really, really has been a long time for them, and we're glad, I think, to see them get a result. Obviously, FC Bulleen Lions will be playing FE Emerging in that game in hand before too long, but this weekend they went down in a second v third clash with Heidelberg United, and unfortunately for them, this look, I watched this game. It was really, really tightly contested. Honestly, it could have gone either way, but unfortunately for Bulleen on the day, it was arguably two goalkeeping errors, one more sort of heinous than the other, that kind of cost them. I mean, the first half, they were absolutely in this game, and then out of nowhere, not long before the halftime whistle, Emily Shields has the ball. She's trying to play it out of her back four, and Danielle Wise just comes out of nowhere like a thief in the night, nicks the ball off the Bulleen keeper and effectively taps in to an empty net to make it 1-0. And then they swapped the keepers at halftime. Great to see Gabby Garton come back from maternity leave that she's been on. But then she had a little bit of a shallow clearance, and that eventually led to towards Steph Galea getting the second goal. So those two continue to have their shootout at the top of the Golden Boot rankings too.
I think you just, you went a little bit past Danielle Wise, who's been lethal all year, and
That's
just
true.
approach her, and kind of scary. If I was a goalkeeper and she was coming at me, I'd be like, I'm going to be honest, I might have to give this goal up.
Well, this has been, I think, I was saying this last night during the Nike FC Cup semi-final. I think this is one of her sort of underrated abilities, is her press work, is the amount of forward pressure that she does and turnovers and goals that she's been able to create through those turnovers. So it didn't work out for her quite in the right way last night, though. She was a bit off her game. We should probably get to that Nike FC Cup semi-final, shouldn't we?
We should. And you know what? We've got somebody on the line who was there, and you know what? Maybe there was some good celebrations after. I've actually never seen people so excited. The speed at which
there were people in tears. There was more than one person in tears.
The speed at which the South Melbourne support, the players on the bench, ran onto that pitch. I said, Usain Bolt, give that world record up. These guys have got you beat, yeah? But we've got...
So which one of those running players have we got joining us?
We've got Francesca Iermano on the line. And you know what, Francesca, tell us about the emotions last night. Tell us the emotions now when you look back on the game from yesterday.
Look, to be honest, I'm not going to lie to you guys. I was one of the people that were crying, so that was me.
We just want to say there's nothing wrong with that. That's completely fine.
Look, you know what it was? I think in the moment when you've played for 90 minutes, your legs are aching mentally, like you cannot switch off. When that final whistle blew, it was just happy, sad, crying, can't believe we did it. We've got a final to play. It was honestly probably one of the best moments in my career, I can happily say. So, and all the girls got around each other. The whole club was around each other. So, it was an amazing thing to be a part of. And I think even now, we still have messages from everyone in the club, or even, people that are just, supporters of the game that are just getting around us, just congratulating us on the win and the turnover the game was. So, yeah, it's been great. And I think the celebrations aren't going to stop until the finals, to be honest. So we'll have 2 weeks of celebrations it's been amazing.
I mean, we've sort of started like all good stories, started at the end, and we probably should just head a tiny bit back to the beginning, because obviously going into this game, it's been a pretty difficult last month for you guys in the NPLW. It's safe to say, obviously, 4 losses in a row. It was a bit of a disappointing result, particularly on the weekend against Bayside, having the lead and then sort of losing it in sort of a very short space of time right before the halftime whistle. Obviously, the changeover in manager as well. There's all this turmoil leading into this game, to the point where not many necessarily neutral people would have said, this is going to be a South result. How were you guys feeling in going into this game? Because that's a very chaotic lead-in to such an important semi-final.
I think it was just really great that everyone said that there was no second chances with this. It's not a league game. This is a semi-cup final, and we need to lay everything on the pitch. I think mentally it shows everyone's character from South Melbourne, just because, like you said, there was a whole lead up to everything. We within 24 hours of the cup, we had a new coach, and he had to obviously, I guess try to work it out between now and then, and we had to, put out all our trust into him and everything like that. So I just think it's just a massive trust, and I think we all just knew we had to take a step back and just go through the motion. And like I said, it was all or nothing, and I think everyone truly on that path knew that. So, yeah.
Was when that For you, after that game, was it kind of like for the team a breath, just a moment you could just breathe? Because there'd been so much pressure, as Lockie said, and you just spoken about like of everything that's culminated. You just feel like, wow, this is just like fantastic.
Yeah, it was a very, very big moment of just relief. Especially not even as a cup game, obviously Heidelberg and South. It's a derby there. There's already rivalry there. We've gone down twice to Heidelberg in the league, and I think it was just the point to prove was bigger than anything that was guys on the line. So I think it was just a massive sign of relief. And like I said, I think that's why we had girls in tears. We had girls hugging each other. Everyone was jumping on each other. There was definitely some head knocks, and I know that my perfectly placed bum definitely kind of rabbled out of that in that moment. So there was just way too many emotions, and I think outside of football and what that meant to the supporters and our families that are always there and everything like that. So it wasn't just massive for us; it was just massive for anyone that put in some time for South, whether it's a player, coach, or anyone on the board.
And look, when you get a result as big as this, and when you have a game that is, a classic, I think it's fair to say it was that sort of a game. You're always thinking about, what are all the pivotal moments? You're looking back on all those sort of things. And I think there wasn't a single bigger sliding doors moment in this game than when at 2-0, Danielle Wise misses an open goal, and then within minutes, down the other end, Jana Lawson scores this quite insane goal off a cross. The jury's still like, did she mean it? Was it a coincidence? Have you pressed her on it after the game?
You know what? I always say it, a goal is a goal. I definitely can't talk. I know in my bullying match, I scored from a really weird position too, and you just get the is it a short, is it a cross? And to be honest, no one has even mentioned Jana. So maybe coming Thursday, we might grill her a bit. But look, it did the job, and it gave us momentum. So I think she's one of those players where she can recognise the game so easily, and we could tell that Maisel did keep coming off her line, and that chip was on. We just couldn't put it away, and Jana was the one who started it. So yeah, she had an awesome game as well. And definitely just that was the start of our momentum build up, and it's nice to get one back just before the half-time whistle blows. So.
Well, it did give you momentum, as you quite rightly point out, but even at that point, you're still 2-1 down against a Heidelberg side who have beaten you twice in the league. I mean, this must have been, for a manager who's only spent 24 hours, obviously he's been involved with the under-19s, but 24 hours as head coach of your senior side. This must have been a mammoth team talk. What was the message at the halftime whistle?
Maybe it's like, I just got to say, maybe it's like, what's that Denzel movie? And it's like, when he's like running with them and then he gives them that gigantic speech and then they're just pumped up.
I know what you're talking about. I just don't know the movie.
Friday night? No, it's not Friday nights. I don't know. We'll figure it out later.
Well, either way. What was it like?
You know what it is? It's that scoreline. It's that 2-1 scoreline. And I think it makes everyone nervous no matter how high up you are in your professional career. It's that 2-1 scoreline that just makes everyone so nervous. So I think, in the team talk, it was just reiterating that. It's a 2-1. We get one more goal, it's a 2-2. We get another goal, it's a 3-2. Like, that's how easy it can slip away. But it was, we had, and like I said, this is how much it meant to the club. We had, ex-player Nat Mardanu, who's won champions, and we've had Bubs, who, of course, is a legend. So they were both in our team talk, and I think, between the Bubs and the Nat and the George and all the, our Arthurs and everyone just putting in that little bit of motivation, that's what it was. And look, to be honest, that talk from Bubs was probably one of the most craziest talks I've had in my career. And I think it just fired us all up. So, it was, you cannot lose to this team. You cannot go down to this team. It's a derby. It's this. And it's just that motivation. I think we haven't had that in the league games. This is how important it is. And I think in that moment everyone just, it was a switch. So, but like I said, it does come down to that 2-1 scoreline. It is the worst thing to play on. I honestly, it is just one more goal in and everyone just gets nervous. So that was the team talk. But it was get around each other. It was the same morals that we've had all season round. Get around each other, resilience. We need to win this game. And we're going to win it by having each other's backs, and we're going to win it by, exposing them in the moments that we can. You gotta keep your mentality, and you gotta just let every bone in your body ache until that whistle goes. So, yeah.
I mean, thinking of through the list of people who you'd want to give a team talk at halftime, Bubs is probably up there as like your triple A kind of premier talent. I mean, we saw her in the A-League women's season this year. Even when she wasn't on the field, like even when she wasn't able to play, she was up against the fence. You could probably hear her when you were playing against her in those important games.
For sure. She is an amazing person, and that's why she has the name she has. That's why everyone wants her to be around. So it was a bit scary. I'm not gonna lie. I was smiling, and then all of a sudden I wasn't smiling. It was serious. So yeah, but she's awesome, and there was no one that could have said what they needed to say better than her. So
is it just like nice to have someone like Bubs around the team, like because she's had so much experience? Is it someone you go to for advice? Just obviously, she gave that amazing team talk last night, but is it like throughout the season and just for you personally, is she someone that you look to for advice?
Well, I mean, me and Bubs go back from my Melbourne City days as well. So for me personally, she's always going to be that person that drives the session and drives the girls, because she knows how much it means and how much it meant to her when she was our age. But yeah, for sure, I think Bubs isn't a player with us currently. We all know that, and she's training and doing everything in her personal career. So I mean, she can't be around for us as much as we would want to, but she's there in the moments that we need her, and the cup game was that moment. So she's definitely someone I think anyone would definitely feel comfortable going to, because like I said, she knows how much it means to the club, to her, to anywhere she brings this presence that's do or die. So that's what I guess any leader would kind of aspire to be as well.
Is going back to I want to go back to that second half, because I remember, when the second half started, I just was like, whoa, there is such an intensity from South Melbourne. Like, you guys are attacking them in the midfield. Because I think maybe in the first half, there was maybe like a 1 or 2 second delay with being your reaction times to when Heidelberg were moving. But in the second half, you guys seem to be so ready and so alert and really closing down the space for them. Take me through that second half. Like, how did you see that play out?
I think it was just, okay, the nerves are gone. It's 45. We've had a break. We've all regrouped. We know what they're going to come out and do. It's very rare that a team's going to completely change their tactics. I think, especially with that midfielder, that midfield situation with Heidelberg, they were great. I felt like in the first half playing midfield that they had us, like they were kind of just walking all over us. And like you said, the reaction time, we just kind of just couldn't work it out. I think going to the second half, we all just knew there needed to be more communication. Stay on your player. You have to basically wake up. And there was, times where I'm just kind of screaming throughout the match. I know I rewatched the game, and there was a point where even the commentator's like, you know what, I'm not going to repeat what Iermano said because I don't think I can repeat it. But it was just, you had to lift everyone up. Like, I just keep saying it because that's how important it was. We couldn't afford one player out of the 11 to drop on the park. So I think we just came out with fire.
Was that you? Lucky?
Well, yeah, I'm glad glad you brought it up, Francesca, because I was one of the two people who was commentating the game. I don't know whether that was me or Joey Lynch, but I'm just, the timing is perfect because it was what I was going to ask you about in the game. That thing that you said that I will repeat part of was basically like, you've got 5 minutes left, you have to, and then the word I won't say, want it. Obviously you're only 22 years of age, still fairly fresh in terms of your playing days, but you do have that experience of obviously playing in the A-League Women's as well. And it is a very young South Melbourne squad. When you're dishing out those kind of, words on the pitch in a sort of Bubs-esque way, I guess, do you consider yourself, despite your age, to, be a leader in this South Melbourne squad? I mean, considering the oldest player is probably Kat Goff at like 26 or 27. I mean, how do you see your sort of role in this side?
Yeah, I think, and I've always said I never think that there's anything, with, age or experience. But if you have a voice, you have to use it. And that's completely fine if you're someone that's probably a bit more quiet and, you don't want to really talk that much on the pitch. But if you are and you have it, you have to use it, because that's what changes games. And I think, especially like you said, coming from A-League, coming from Victory, and I saw our leadership group, and I was pretty quiet at Victory as well. So it's crazy, you change teams and you have to, it just depends on I guess, what level you're playing. But I learnt so much from the leaders at Victory that I even said, when we were finishing up for the season, I said, my goal is to bring that into South Melbourne, because in the end, people are going to still look at you as you came from A-League. You're an A-League player. It doesn't matter how many minutes you played. You had that experience, and you need to bring all these girls that have the potential for sure to be at that level. So, yeah, 100%. And I think everyone knows that I throw in a few swear words here and there. So that was nothing for a surprise for them. But, it just puts in that like tiny bit more emphasis to say,
no,
I'm swearing. So this is real. Like, this is real.
No,
so,
I
get it together.
I think from Pakura and I, as two people who have to spend a lot of time standing near the fences commentating games, and never going to find a complaint from us about a swear word or two. It gives us something to talk about.
I want to just go back to Melbourne Victory thing. Francesca, have you got a medal from winning the league last year?
Sure do.
Yes, come on. What was?
Sure do.
Like, are you like looking at the medal, or like is the medal in like is it in the top like shelf for like all your like? Because I know you've probably won a lot of things in your life, and parents been like, "Oh, you're great, Francesca's great. Look at this medal." Is it like show off in the family living room, or is it in your room? Like, what are we doing?
No, definitely not showing off in the family living room. That one's mine. That one's in my room, with my little cap as well. It's hanging on in the little thing in my room. So, yeah, that's the goal, and I think like that's the motivation, and it's not something to look flashy. And like you said, I got my attention when we won enough. So it's now for me, and it's okay. You want to be back to back champions, or you want to be champions in whatever cup game or anything you go to, whether it's MPL, whether it's A-League. If you have an opportunity to win, that's the goal. And it always has been. So, yeah. But I was rapt when I got a medal. That was a whole nother. We're talking about semi-final celebrations. The victory celebration when we won it's hard to top. So,
Come on.
But
I like it.
I want to recreate that for Nike FC Cup. I want another medal. I want another trophy. So.
Were you one of that group of people who was over with the Victory Active fans at the end of that semi-final derby? Were you in that group? Yeah, that doesn't.
I was the first one to run to support it.
Unbelievably, that doesn't shock me all that great of a deal. But that does, that experience does give you a pretty unique perspective in terms of what it, knowing what it takes to win at the absolute top level, and even in game, uniquely placed to know what it takes to win in games like this in a Nike FC Cup semi-final.
For sure.
But the thing is, obviously not the only one in this South Melbourne squad with that sort of A-League women's experience. There are a handful of you who have either played or been around the traps. Do you feel like, I think that was sort of one of the things at the start of this season, is that obviously we knew there was a lot of turnaround, player turnover for South, the maybe recreating the lofty heights that South have set for themselves over the years was going to be a challenge. But I think what a lot of people were saying is that the quality of player is still absolutely there. Do you feel like this performance against Heidelberg finally gave you guys the chance to show what this squad of players can do? Because there is a talent everywhere you look across the park, even if it is of a predominantly younger variety.
Yeah, I think we always say, like, we are amazing on paper, we are amazing at training. It's those little moments that I guess the team maybe doesn't have a lot of experience with yet, because they're predominantly younger. But it's the switch off moments, and it was the same in the Box Hill game where we switched off for 1 minute and they managed to score 2 in 1 minute. It's it's the two goals from the cup game where, you know, it was just miscommunication. Our backline just didn't communicate, the keeper didn't communicate, and etc. So, 100%. I think we just needed to find a bit of gel. And, you know, we all came from, you know, different teams whether there was A-League or whether it was different clubs. It was just finding that gel, and there's been a lot of people playing out of positions due to injuries. And, you know, there's just sponges that kept being thrown to us, and we had to deal with it. And I think we haven't been just set in a comfortable starting 11 week after week, work on that same thing, because we have had to change positions. You know, I'm not a midfielder predominantly. You know, so for me, switching from playing wide to playing in the middle of the park is a whole different game. So even with me and, you know, my experience, or, you know, coming from wherever I came from, playing a different position, you just feel like you're starting back in the junior leagues, and you have to just learn how to kick a ball again, and you have to learn, okay, I need to scan like 14 times instead of once before playing winger. So yeah, I think now that everyone's just learned how to play any position they get thrown into, and like I said, that gel, I think we just needed that bit of pump up and everyone getting around us to then go, okay, let's lift off. And I know like it's halfway through the season now, but in saying that, anything can happen in this league. We've seen teams win that we didn't expect to win. We've seen teams lose that we didn't expect to lose. And anything can happen. So I think this was the kind of bit of, good luck / we keep saying good juju. I don't know if that's the new word in the team. So, we just needed that push and to know that we can do it, because we've 100% we've got talent in this team.
Well, Francesca, I didn't mean to cut you off. You see what I was too weak.
I could talk all day, guys. So you have to cut me off. Trust me. Otherwise, I'll talk all day.
There's nothing wrong with that. So speaking to players, usually it's harder to get stuff out of them than it is.
We're very happy.
We're much preferring cutting someone off as opposed
Francesca,
to.
I just want to say thank you for joining us tonight, and, you know, good luck for the final in 2 weeks. And I hope the good juju stays around, because I can't stand bad juju. I want good juju for this team, and hopefully you guys can push on from this. And thank you to everybody who's joined us on Radio Dub tonight. We've had a good time being back. Yeah. It's been a while, it's been a minute, but you're going to see the fresh face of Lockie Flanagan. He's the new...
Hooray, I guess.
Whoa, Lockie, come on. Don't do that to yourself.
No, it's been good. We've had two very good guests on. Before we wrap up the show, we'll just give a final thank you to Francesca Iermano. I hope I said you've got 2 weeks left of celebrating to do for this game. We'll let you go and get back to it. Thank you very much for your time.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. Yeah, 100%. Like I said, good juju. So make sure the next 2 weeks, everyone. Good juju.
Brilliant. Well, if you've missed any of the chats that we've had today with either head coach of Calder and upcoming head coach of Western United, Mark Torcaso, or with Francesca Iermano, South Melbourne and Melbourne Victory Superstar, you can catch them
on every platform.
Literally any podcast platform. How good is that? Imagine honestly, you can think of a podcast platform. You're like, hey, FNR's on there. I can listen to it. My brain was just going through
too many, and I said,
information overload.
Come on, all of them. Well, Lockie, thank you for joining me.
It's been a pleasure
to have you on the show, and you've been a good sub. Avenger level, I appreciate.
Wow. Yeah, nice.
Avenger level, and maybe
See, the fact that you've referred to me as sub makes me think that in future weeks I will be replaced with a different plant.
Absolutely not. I've seen your resume, and you're staying in. You're staying in.
That's not what many employers say, so that's a good thing. I will take that.
We'll leave it there, and thank you everyone for joining us, and we'll see you next week.
Pickett, she lays it off. Teresa Polias.